Welcome everybody to the Grueling Truth Sports Network. I'm your host, Mike Goodpaster. Today we are going to recap Indiana's embarrassing 94-69 loss to the Illinois Fighting Illini at Assembly Hall. We're talking the Assembly Hall that is in Indiana, and the Hoosiers were beaten worse than they've ever been beaten at home. It was absolutely one of the most embarrassing football or basketball games in Hoosier history. And of course, today we're going to look back at last night's post-game press conference with head coach Mike Woodson to see exactly how he felt about this game. So we're going to sit here, we're going to watch this together, guys, and we're going to find out exactly what happened last night because nobody knows more about Indiana basketball than Mike Woodson. So let's go ahead and let's see what the coach had to say after the game.
Mike, I know you don't share specifics a lot of what you say in locker rooms, but after a first half like that, just what do you say to a team to try and pick them back up, try and just kind of keep guys together, if nothing else?
Long season, man. I mean, you can't throw in the towel. We didn't play well the first half, but we were awful. And I thought we came out the second half and we competed and played a lot better, but the damage was already done in the first half. You got to give Illinois a lot of credit, the coaching staff. They played great.
All right, guys, here's the issue. Hopefully, I hope to God, this is not what Mike Woodson said to the guys at halftime, because that would be extremely lame for a basketball team that basically got out-hustled. They got outworked. The Indiana Hoosiers were lazy. This is what the Indiana Hoosiers do under head coach Mike Woodson. It happened Saturday in Illinois where they got beat by 25 points. You're thinking, or at Iowa by 25 points, and you're thinking, well, maybe they'll come back with a little pride. That's not what I was thinking because I've seen this before. And the Illinois Fighting Illini got dominated by 13 points, lost to USC at home. This is a USC team that lost by double digits to Indiana a week ago. Hoosier fans were starting to think it's all right, but it's not. Indiana has not beaten one good team yet this season. Penn State looked like they might be a good team, but ever since the Indiana game, well, Illinois, beat them half to death. Penn State's not a very good basketball team. And a lot of this goes back to the point of he's talking about the second half. We competed. Well, hell, ain't that what you're supposed to do? The first half, they didn't compete. That's embarrassing. The second half, they competed. Maybe they were competitive because Illinois had such a big lead. They really weren't worried about really cracking down and playing, because 60 points given up in the first half is the most any Indiana teams ever give up in a half at Assembly Hall. Absolute joke, guys.
Rather than this?
Yeah, Coach, big picture, you guys are 1-5 in quad one games. I think it's 15-34 in quad one games over the last 3+ years. But what do you see as the problem? Are you guys not competing with consistency against the better opponents?
Well, we've had some good games against big-time opponents.
All right, once again, this guy that asked this question never said you've never beaten a Big Ten opponent or a big-time opponent. He just said in quad one games, you're 15-34. The only thing Mike Woodson gives us out of that is, well, we have won some of those games. You're 15-34 at Indiana University, a place where they've spent at least $5 million on players this season, where you bring in no recruits hardly ever. You got Bryson Tucker this year. Trent Sisley, if he decides to still commit and stay here, I know he's committed, but why, even as a big Hoosier fan, do you want to come do this? This is not Indiana Hoosier basketball. So Trent Sisley's got to have some doubts also.
Over the 3 years, the record didn't indicate that.
He just said that the record doesn't indicate that they've beaten some teams. It does. They've won 15 games like that, but they've lost 34. So what the record indicates is one out of every 3 times that you play a top 50 team, you win. 2 out of 3 times you get your ass kicked.
It's tough, when you prepare and you work, because we work and practice, we do all the things that you're supposed to do going into the game, and guys just didn't step up tonight. They didn't step up in the Iowa game. I can't go back to past years.
He can't go back to past years because it's the exact same damn thing that we saw last night. The only thing that saved Coach Woodson was having Trace Jackson Davis put this team on his back a couple of years ago. You know, their NCAA tournament, they get blown out by St. Mary's. They get blown out by Miami of Florida. This is Indiana basketball right now. You know, they used to say in 49 other states it's just basketball. Well, they could change it. It's just basketball in all 50 states right now.
Coach was staring me in the face right now, and we just got to continue to work. I mean, still a long season.
Continue to work would mean that you've been working. If you've been working and this is all you get, how can you expect more? You're not prepared. The drop coverage defense that they played against Illinois was absolutely atrocious in the first half. When they changed it up a little bit later on in the game, they got better. But this team was not prepared. You could not play that kind of defense against the Illinois Fighting Illini and hope to have any chance.
Hopefully we'll get Malik back soon. He's a big piece to what we do. And we can get guys back playing the way I expect us to play.
Yeah, Mike, the fans were very vocal tonight about kind of the disappointment, especially in the first half. What would you kind of tell them to reassure them about the direction of this team?
Well, again, I love our fans and I respect our fans, but it's up to me to get our players to play at a high level, and that's my job, and I'm going to continue to work in that area.
All right, that's his job. He's going to continue to work in that area. This is year 4. And the thing that blows me away is all the witty apologists. You know, you go to Woodson with the moron that runs that. I think he's Brian Dorr or something. All they ever said was, you got to give him a chance. He's got to have his own guys. Every year he has his own guys because that's all he recruits. This is an absolute joke. It's an utter disgrace to Indiana basketball that you have one freshman, Bryson Tucker, and nothing. And most of the rest of this team are guys that were paid to come here. And when you're paid to come here and play for Mike Woodson, this is his retirement plan. He's in his mid to late 60s. He doesn't care. Listen to this press conference. I mean, it's utterly disgraceful. What do you think Coach Bob Knight would say at a press conference like this? What do you think that Mike Krzyzewski or Bruce Pearl, guys like that would say? Chris Beard, Dusty May. Let's look at it like this. Dusty May, when Indiana didn't get him, I saw all kind of people, well, Dusty May hadn't proven anything. He had one good year at Florida Atlantic. Mike Woodson hadn't had one good year anywhere. Dusty May went to the Final Four with Florida Atlantic. Indiana decided to let him pass, go right up I-65, not turn to Bloomington. He just went to Michigan. And Michigan right now, I think, is one of the 2 or 3 best teams in the Big Ten. They're a top 25 team. And Michigan replaced almost their entire roster. So why could Dusty May coach new guys and get them to work as a cohesive unit where every year Mike Woodson has all these great NIL recruits, transfer portal guys, but nothing changes. All right, nothing changes. His press conference, post-game press conference, don't change. He tries to take accountability and say, I got to get him to do better. But how are you going to get him to do
I
better?
hope that our fans will stay in there and hang in there with us.
Todd and Tom.
Mike, in your long tenure as a coach, warrior, sorry. When you have younger guys who are trying to figure things out, especially after 2 bad games like this, what's your approach with them, and what do you feel like you need to do some soul searching of your own?
Well, again, you got to continue to work, and I got to make some changes. We haven't been getting off to a good start in terms of
Changes. He needs to make changes. He does. Will he? Will he make significant changes? Because I think a lot of the issue here is he promises guys stuff, including playing time when they come to play at Indiana. Umar Balo last night with like 5.5 minutes left in the first half, there's like guys diving all over the court. Illinois is batting the ball around and they end up scoring. The entire time, Umar Balo just stands there and watches. He walks back and forth. He's lazy. He's a man that was at a bar the night before a game, and you suspended him for the Winthrop game. Maybe just suspended him for the Winthrop game. A game you're going to win is not that great of a punishment. I mean, if you watched Balo during that game, all he did was sit and joke with his teammates. It didn't seem like he was being punished. Why not suspend him for Winthrop in a Big Ten game? But you're not going to do that. because promises have been made to these guys, and you got to make it look good if you're Coach Woodson.
Who we've been starting, and sure, we do miss Malik. Malik is a big piece to the puzzle. But I gotta put guys in there that I think is going to get us off to a good start and see if we can maintain it over a 40-minute ball game. You know, we can't let 2 games, and these were embarrassing games for us, determine our season. We still got a long way to go, a lot of Big Ten game left, and I just got to get us better prepared and ready to play.
Tom?
But like, how do you explain 60? I mean, in the 125-year history of Indiana basketball, it's never happened before. Like, how do you explain that?
I wish I could. You know, I mean, I thought we played better the second half. They scored, 34 points to.
All right, he was asking about 60 points in the first half, and he's going, no, I thought we played better in the second half. That is not the question. The question is, what are you going to do to rectify this situation? He never gives that answer. All he says is go work harder. Well, shouldn't you already be working hard?
Second half, but 60 points is just way too many. You know, I just thought our defense and our intensity just wasn't there, and they exploited it.
Greg?
Hey, Mike, over here on your left, I got 2 questions for you, okay? First one is, what happened with Umar Balo at the end, and what are you going to do about that?
Well, I mean, there's not a whole lot I can do, you know, until I go back and review it, and I'm sure the commissioner and everybody will take a look at what happened and make a decision on what they plan on doing. I just hope Ball's with us our next game as we travel over to Ohio.
All right, so Balo gets a technical for being stupid. I can tell you this. If it was Bob Knight, you could understand Miles Rice. You could understand Luke Goody's reaction. But Umar Balo to run from way over here to run up, jump up, and push a dude is absolutely disgusting. I mean, there's no reason for it. You get a technical foul. You show no class. You show no ability to contain yourself. Luke Goody, dude got in his face. I understand the response. Miles Rice was standing right there and sees it. I understand that. Balo runs from 30 feet away. All right. Maybe he was over drinking a beer with the fans in the front row, didn't know what was going on, saw something go, and he figured, hey, I'm going to go get a part of this. But the fact that Mike Woodson, beyond just considering that Umar Balo will play, will sit there and say that he hopes they have Umar Balo. He just said that he was going to try to make changes in the lineup. I guess Balo's not one of those changes. Balo is a great basketball player when he gives effort. That effort is not always there. Maybe ass needs to be bench.
Mike, that raises the question of accountability. You got a player doing what he did, and you're actually hoping he can play the next game.
Well, I mean, again,
What's going on here?
well, they're taking up for each other. I get that. You know, in the heat of the battle, anything is liable to happen. You know, I don't condone players pushing players or.
I would say he condones it because he hopes he can play the next game.
You know, their player got into our player's face. I mean, it went back and forth. We had 2 guys pushing and shoving. I don't condone that by any means, but in the heat of the battle, I'm not there right there doing the situations where I can stop it. And sometimes things get out of hand and they happen. And
All right, you stop it with your culture. Like I said, I understand what Coach Woods is saying there in the heat of the moment. The heat of the moment, though, was Luke Goody, the Illinois player, and Miles Rice, who's a couple feet away. If you have a culture of accountability and a culture where you tell guys what right and wrong is and they buy into it and they do it, Umar Balo's not running from 30 feet away to run over and shove somebody. It really, come on, it was really kind of a wussy shove anyways for such a big dude. That's all you got? I mean, hell, if you're going to go get a technical and be kicked out of the game, you might as well get your money's worth. But as always, Indiana does everything half-ass.
you know, Balo and I will sit and talk, and along with Miles, because he was given assessed the technical too, and see where we go from there.
He was assessed a technical too. You know what I would like to see? especially in that first half when Indiana is not trying. They're lazy, they're stupid, they're pathetic. Maybe Woody should have got a technical. Maybe he should have got thrown out of the game. Maybe he needs to do something to light a fire under these guys' butts, because this was unacceptable last night. But when I watched this press conference, it doesn't look unacceptable. It looks like grandpa sitting here defending these kids and saying, hey, I'm going to raise them better from now on. Well, they're in their 20s. Get a little late for that. The culture of Indiana is rotten. It's rotten to the core. You could not fix that 4 years in when you've let it rot to this point.
Seth and then Daniel.
Mike, to have this performance after the way the Iowa game went on Saturday, just what did you see from the team's response to that game on Saturday, and what needs to change coming out of this game?
Well, again, I mean, we can't let this be a snowball effect. You know, like I said, we got a long way to go in this Big Ten. And do I think we're good enough to win? Yeah, I do. I just got to get us to believe that and keep pushing these guys in the right direction.
Last question,
I
Daniel.
want to say, Mike, this is the roster in October you said was the, I think, most talented you've had here. Is there a reason you can look at for just why it hasn't really clicked yet?
Well, again, I mean, you miss your leading scorer in the last 5-6 games. I mean, that doesn't help. You know, I mean, but again, I've always said, hell, you know, we won games without Malik. You know, it was next man up, and these last 2 games we haven't fared well without him. So hopefully we'll get him back soon, and I can get guys playing back at a high level so
He can get guys playing back at a high level. My question would be, when has this team played at a high level? That is the dumbest statement, one of the dumbest statements of this post-game press conference, and there's one every 30 to 40 seconds.
get back on the winning track.
Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, guys. So where do we go from here with Indiana basketball? I mean, you saw the post-game press conference. You just got embarrassed for the second straight game. And I don't know where you go from here. He should have been fired this morning after 2 games like that. And there have been every team they played this year that was top 50 outside of Penn State has beat them by double digits. They've dominated them. Last night's game was 94-69. And 94-69 doesn't show you how bad this was. It was an absolutely horrific first half. ESPN stats said Indiana's 28-point halftime deficit was their largest halftime deficit at home in the last 25 seasons. Indiana looked like an NAIA program playing Illinois in a pregame exhibition as the lead swelled to as much as 30 points before the break. Illinois made 8 first-half threes, were plus 11 on the glass at halftime. Most of the student section and part of the older folks section were gone at halftime. You know, the rebounding, Illinois rebounded Indiana overall 51-37, but it was even worse than that in the first half. The 3-point disparity, Illinois made 11 threes. They outscored Indiana by 21 from beyond the arc. And before some late threes in garbage time, that margin was much bigger. Indiana started the game shooting 0 for 13 from deep. Everything Indiana could have done to suck, they did in this game. But my biggest takeaway is not how bad they played. It is how there was absolutely no culture. There's no accountability. You can have a bad game here or there. Hell, Illinois had one against USC. But they responded because the culture that Brad Underwood has at that university is one of accountability. They play hard. Yeah, one of their kids was talking trash to Luke Goody. That was stupid. But the game was over by then. And there was a lot of emotions. Goody had played there last year. And then Luke Goody comes out, trashing fans who were booing and mad. You know what? This is no longer, we're not going to yell at kids who are 18, 19, 20 years old who are playing for a scholarship. These are grown-ass men getting paid. These are professional basketball players anymore. If you're going to be a professional, you're going to get paid. Expect to be treated like a professional that's getting paid. If you're Mike Woodson, those firewoodson chants are only going to get louder over the next 10 games. Indiana would be lucky to win 3 of the next 10 games. It's possible they could lose every one of those games. things were only going to get worse at Indiana with a lack of accountability by the head coach. Scott Dolson got us Curt Cignetti. He needs to go out and get us a basketball version of Curt Cignetti because what we're seeing is unacceptable. Quinn Buckner's ass shouldn't have any say on the next coach. He should have no say on whether this coach stays or leaves. Right now, what you have is a bunch of players who are playing for the money. You have a coach that's playing for the money. They're not playing for the name on the front. They're not playing for the banners hanging above them. They're playing for themselves. Indiana basketball has turned into a selfish shit show, and that will not change until you cut the head off the monster. That head is the head coach. But then you have to go out and you have to get a good head coach. A guy like Chris Beard, a guy like Dusty May, who you could have had, but decided you didn't want him. Instead, you've got Mike Woodson. Wait till Michigan comes to Indiana here in a few weeks. See what the difference in the coaching is then. All right, guys, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You can follow me on Twitter or on X at Grueling Truth. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell notifications on YouTube. Follow us, like us on Facebook, and make sure you check out thegruelingtruth.com. That's all for now, guys. I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been watching and listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.